Sports Marketing and is powered by the injury attorneys Lerner and Rowe. In a wreck and need a check? Make one call. That's all. 602-977-1900. And always online at lernerandrowe.com. Now time for Calling All Sports with Rock and Manooch with Jimmy B on Fox Sports 910.
You guys are hot.
Hour 2 of Rock and Manooch with Jimmy B here on Fox Sports 910. Coming up, we're going to get into some really cool ESPN College game day stuff. I really looking forward to that. Scott Spreitzer is going to join us as well, get his picks in as he does for the last 16 years here on Rock and Manooch. But right now, it's our pleasure to bring on the director of the Cronkite News Phoenix Sports Bureau. She just completed her 4-year term on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. She's in the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame, Arizona Republic, Sports Talk Show in LA. She's done it all. And she joins us now, Paola Boivin, here on Fox Sports 910. Paola, Rock and Manooch, it was great to see you at the Arizona Sports Hall of Fame. What an incredible event, and appreciate you taking some time today with us.
Oh, my pleasure. That was so fun. Just, from Fitz talk for longer than like 5 minutes.
Yeah.
And just Pedro's family being there and the nice things that were said about him. It was real, and all the strong female women college basketball players and coaches. It was really cool.
Yeah, they did a tremendous job. Well, this week was the first week of the rankings for the selection committee for the CFP, and you spent the last 4 years on that committee. And I was anxious, as I mentioned to you when I ran into you, to kind of peel the onion or pull the curtain and trying to look back and maybe your 4 years there. And for those of people that don't know how that selection committee works or even how you get on it, can you kind of take us back to how it all first started and then how it evolved over the 4 years you were there?
Sure. It was an amazing experience, and I'm going through total withdrawal this week. I'm like, don't they want my opinion? Come on. But no, it was great. It's really weird. It started with a phone call. Bill Hancock, who oversees the committee,
Sure.
I don't know if you guys know him.
Yes,
Great guy, right?
Yep.
And yep. So I've known him over the years because I covered so much college football. And he simply called me one day, and I thought he was mad about a column I wrote for USA Today, so I didn't call him back for a couple days. And I called him back, and he said, blah, 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 how you doing? And by the way, would you like to join us on the College Football Playoff Selection Committee? And I about spit out the orange juice I was drinking. And I mean, it really was that simple. They kind of have a mix of people on the committee, a lot of former college football coaches, a lot of current standing ADs, and then a mix of other people. And one that they started adding is a former member of the media. And so that's kind of how it happened. And it was an amazing experience. I was often sitting next to Ronnie Lott, who was in my class. And, this hard-hitting, tough guy was like the most gentle guy I'd ever met. And we would debate. I would fly into Dallas on a Sunday. We're kind of sequestered in this hotel for a couple days. I would be there through Tuesday, and much of that time was spent in this conference room debating how we're doing this top 25. It was fun, intense at times, but an amazing experience.
Paul, I'm just curious, knowing that after the 7th, 8th week, whatever, leading up to that, are you kind of getting your ammo together, getting your thoughts, getting who you like, and before you get into that room, as you said, and start to debate and kind of give your 2 cents worth, if you will, or do they give you some kind of a criteria or method to the madness prior to getting there before the first official vote comes out?
Yeah, so what happens is, one thing, we all get an iPad that has the coach's cut of every game in college football, which is amazing. The coach's cut, for those who don't know, is just no commercials. You can fast forward. You can watch just offense, just defense. So as the week started unfolding, I'd watch a lot of college football on TV, but then I would go to my iPad and games that really seemed to matter and watch really specific plays, go through the games. So I'm absorbing a ton of stuff in the first, half of the season or whatever. And then when we get there, I mean, there's certain things that we're looking at as this is unfolding. Strength of schedule, we've got, our own sort of metrics for that. If these teams have played head to head, comparative outcomes of common opponents, and there's definitely a little eye test there. I mean, it would be dumb not to, with all these former football coaches and players in that room. So those conversations would come up. And we would, by the time we would meet for the first time on that Monday, we have to go in with we do a top 30. Okay. So we would go in with our top 30, and then we'd go by chunks. We'd rank everybody would rank their first 5. It'd go into a computer. It would, measure it all up, and we would just kind of do it in chunks that way, and then debate quite a bit for many, many hours.
Yeah, I'm curious. It'd be so cool to be a fly on the wall and for that debate, that discussion that you have. I could only imagine. And, is there any, you're out here, basically we're close to the West Coast. Is there West Coast bias at all?
Not in that room.
Okay.
And I say that sincerely, because I wouldn't have done it if I felt that was the case. And it sounds so cheesy, and when I tell people that, they don't believe me, but there was no agenda in that room. And I will tell you, the woman that was in the committee before me, Condoleezza Rice,
sure,
who obviously was on some very impactful committees in her life. I met her once, and she told me this was the committee with the least agenda she's ever been on. And it's really true. Everybody really understands sort of the purpose, and, you were recused if you're talking about your school. Everybody is assigned a conference. So there were conferences that I would pay specific attention to, but I think if there was any kind of bias showed, they wouldn't have lasted in that room, because people really want it to come out fair in there.
Paul, I'm just curious, and this is so intriguing that you can finally talk to us 4 years later.
Yeah.
Rockin' Minuch with Jimmy B. When you look at it and you listen to everybody else talk in that room, ADs, players, former coaches, all the above, what is it you learn the most about coming to the conclusion of who's ranked where? Or did you just have your own basic thoughts?
Well, I think what I learned out of that is everyone kind of brought something different, and that was really valuable to the conversations. For some of the football coaches, they would maybe recognize, certain trends with the quarterbacks or matchups on the lines or something that the defensive backs were doing. I am very stat heavy. I love metrics. I like numbers. So I would bring that into the conversation. So people were bringing all kinds of different things, and that's what led to so many debates. We're like, someone saw this about Ohio State, but someone saw something different, and we'd go back and forth with those kind of conversations. So I think there's a real value in having a mix of people in that room, because they can all bring something different to it.
Paola Boivin joining us here on Fox Sports 910 with Rockin' Minuch. Paula, style points, the eye candy, all that, a team beating somebody by 30, 40, 50. How did that play in the second part of it, strength of schedule? How much did that weigh on some of your decisions?
Certainly the strength of schedule was a factor, because, it's the important thing to remember, it's the best team that gets in, not the most deserving.
Okay.
So that, there's some discussions about why a 7-2 team might be over a 9-0 team in the rankings. It's not necessarily because they won every game, but most deserving. So that was part of the conversation as well. And, we would look at sort of the scores. If the game was close, it usually meant the teams were closer in talent level. If there was a big blowout, that would suggest something too, but it would only be a piece of a very big puzzle. There was a lot of things taken into account when we were discussing these numbers.
Paul, with the playoff going to 12 teams, it could be next year, next 2 years, by 2026. How will that affect you, Phil? Make it easier for the committee, or will make it more difficult because you're going to look at the 12 best teams, or there'll be a little more leeway in your voting?
That's a really good question. I mean, I wish I was sort of in that room to see how that's going to turn out. I mean, I think, they're still going to do everything the way we used to do it and the way we used to debate, because we still are ranking top 25 teams or whatever, and there's 12 in there. I just think from a fandom standpoint, it's going to be really great for the game. Just because I think there's going to be more of a mix of teams. There's always that chance that, the number 12 or the number 11 or the number 10 could upset some of the top teams. So I think it just makes it more entertaining for the fan base overall.
So the last one for me, Paula. So as you see the rankings that came out on Tuesday, did you agree with what you saw? Were you okay with Tennessee at number 1? There's a lot of debate on that one this week.
We were debating here on the show too, there, Paula.
Oh yeah, I haven't, because I'm not scrutinizing these teams like I used to.
Yeah,
I probably don't know if I would have changed, and I know that sounds like I'm wheezing out of an answer, but I'm trying to be honest.
Sure.
I didn't have a big issue with anything. I mean, I understood why maybe there were some teams with 1 losses ahead of a team that had won all their games. Pretty clear who I may be talking about on that one,
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I understand why they came to the conclusions they did. So nothing really surprised me about what they came up with. But, I mean, I think this weekend is going to be so much fun because we'll see more questions answered again for sure.
Big time. Paula, thank you. Good to see you the other night. And thanks so much for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Paula.
Thanks, guys. Great to talk to you.
That's Paula Boivin. You can follow her on